It's Song Talk Radio.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio, the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing songs. I'm your host, Neil Modi, and with me, my co-host, Phil Emery. How you doing, Phil?
I am doing pretty good. We got Roxy the kitten's going to be helping us out tonight, so forgive me if something turns off suddenly.
Roxy's quickly become the Song Talk Radio mascot, hasn't?
That's true.
Yeah.
But very excited to be back.
We'll have to change the logo. Yeah, we missed our episode last week, but we're back in the run-in for the fall.
Yes, indeed.
Good stuff. Okay, so for everyone else, please send your comments and questions to @SongTalkRadio on Facebook or Instagram, or feedback at songtalk.ca for the email, and we'll share your thoughts on the show. And please visit songtalk.ca to see the show post for this episode, to find links to resources we mention, and to download lyric and chord sheets to follow along with the songs that we feature. Tonight, we're very happy to have Manitoba-based singer-songwriter Jade Turner on the show. How are you doing, Jade?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing great, and thanks for joining us on the show. And before we get to Jade's song, just a couple of tidbits that we want to make our listeners aware of. Once again, we have launched our songwriting challenge for 2024. This year's challenge is to write a holiday song. Phil and I will be sharing our answers to the challenge in sooner than we think, right, Phil?
It always, when we start these challenges so far ahead, you think, oh, I got lots of time. Oh, no, it's tomorrow. So,
well, it's like I say, if it wasn't for the last minute, nothing would ever get done, right?
Thankfully, our listeners have been sending us songs, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, which is awesome. So we of course we invite our listeners, as you've done the last couple of years, which has been awesome, to send us your answers to the challenge as well, and we'll feature them on dedicated episodes of the podcast, which is great fun. So thank you to the people who have sent your songs in so far, and looking forward to sharing ours and sharing yours.
Yes, indeed.
Again, if you check out the website, songtalk.ca, on the sidebar there is a link to the songwriting challenge. We've done a bunch of episodes on holiday songs, as well as the launch episode for this challenge with singer-songwriter Melanie Peterson a few months back. So a lot of stuff there to go through and get your brain into the wintry mode.
Indeed.
Okay, and an interesting video I saw on YouTube. This is a new YouTuber, not new to me. I haven't seen any of his videos before. The channel is called Punk Rock MBA, and he posted a video called "Why Modern Music Kind of Sucks," which is kind of a clickbaity title, because to be honest, he was a little bit more thoughtful and nuanced than the title maybe suggests, right? But it's kind of an angle about modern music that I hadn't quite heard before. He starts talking about how hooks have seemed to have taken a decline. Like, a lot of melodies in modern pop songs tend to meander and don't really go anywhere, and there's no real strong hooks anymore. But the real salient point to the whole video is that listening to music is no longer a primary activity. So it's transformed from hook-based songs to a vibe based, and the vibe being some kind of music that is in support of some other content, whether it's a TikTok video, or whether it's background for just doing your work or just kind of hanging out or whatever. But it's no longer, and maybe this has something to do with the technology as well. It's just you're streaming songs that maybe you weren't aware of what the songs are, whereas back in the day, you bought a record, you bought a tape, you bought a CD, and you sat down with it and you digested it and you learned all the lyrics and you really absorbed it and you knew what it was you were listening to. So it's definitely become a little bit more of a passive activity. Listening to music has always been a bit of a passive activity, but we'll put a link to that video in the show post. I thought it was pretty interesting.
I think that's very true. It's especially with streaming, because music is almost free. I mean, you can get it all the time, and it's almost kind of a passive thing. With old-time radio, they would play the song, and then they would, announce the artist, and you would hear the same song over and over again. It's great with streaming that you don't hear the same song over and over again, but I don't think you have quite the same relation with the art the way you would if you were like driving in your car back in the 80s or the 90s and hearing the hit songs over and over again. That kind of became the soundtrack of the summer where you met that person or where you had your new job. It kind of changes the relation with your music, and people rarely set up stereo systems. When I was young, the big thing was having your stereo system and blowing all this money on a huge setup, and then you'd sit down and play your records and CDs and just listen to the record and CDs. And I have to admit, as much as I love music and my life revolves around music, there's not often that I do that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
What do you think, Jade?
Everything is based on vibes these days, it seems like, and trying to connect with your audience, I feel like it is a lot harder because there are so many singers out there now. Like the access to us is a lot easier. I feel like that, like TikTok, you can get lost very easily in the shuffle, right? But I do love music, and I'm still one, but like as a singer songwriter, I'm still the person that does listen to the songs and try to learn every single part of them and like figure out what they did that was really cool, and like how is this connecting with this or whatever, and like piecing it together. But I love music, so I listen to it all the time. I know other people that just listen to the radio as a background noise, like at work, so they don't really get a connection to the same stuff, or they don't hear the same stuff that I hear either. So I'm always searching for music. So I feel like I have a different perspective of it, just because I'm always searching for new stuff personally, just because I love listening to music so much. But yeah.
Yeah, and so certainly as musicians, as songwriters, we tend to listen to music in a much different way than your average consumer.
Yes,
sure.
And I think being able to listen to your music like someone who is not a songwriter is a very useful skill to develop, because that really clever line might tickle you pink, but other people may not just hear it or even care about it. So it's an important thing.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Okay. All right. Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts, listeners, on that as well. If you want to get back to us, write to us, feedback@songtalk.ca. Once again, we will share your thoughts on the show. Okay. Now for the main event. Canadian roots Americana singer-songwriter Jade Turner is a multi-award-winning artist whose powerful, soaring voice and masterful storytelling captivates listeners with every song. The 23-time Manitoba Country Music Award nominee is a member of the Mississippiistic Cree Nation and draws deep inspiration from the cultural tradition of storytelling. Her authentic, relatable catalog of music has earned her notable accolades, most recently as a semi-finalist in SiriusXM's 2024 Top of the Country competition. Just this year, Turner performed live across Canada on breakfast television, appeared on E-Talk for the second time, and received the 2024 Manitoba Music Kevin Walters Memorial Songwriting Award. With a distinct focus on narrative and the ability to convey deeply resonant stories through song, Turner has solidified her place in the Canadian music industry as a powerful storyteller and vocalist who creates a compelling musical repertoire with her blend of Americana, roots, country, and rock genes. Great to have you on the show, Jade.
Thank you. That's a mouthful. I always laugh when I hear like the bios or I hear anybody talking about me. I'm just like,
Well, it's all true, funny. Isn't it?
It is very true, but at the same time, I don't think about it. Like when my publicist was like, "Oh, you have 23 albums." I'm like, "No, I don't. That doesn't sound right." But I do.
Yeah, hard to believe. Funny. It just keeps on turning. Okay, so let's first take a listen to Jade Turner's song. This is called "Wandering Soul."
She's checked the east, she's checked the west, but she hasn't seemed to have found it yet. She once thought she did, she came so close, But over time she realized she was just living with a ghost. And her hair is a mess and she smells like sage and cedar. And when she gets sad she cries under the moon. Wandering soul, wandering soul, she can't find her home. Wandering soul, nowhere feels right, it all feels like lies. She doesn't know that she can't find it all inside her wandering soul, wandering soul. She can't seem to see it from where she stands. She wonders if it's out there somewhere she can land. Is it just a story someone made up? Either way she keeps searching, no, she'll never give up. And her hair is a mess and she smells like sage and cedar. And when she gets sad she cries under the moon. Wandering soul, wandering soul, she can't find her home. Wandering soul, nowhere feels right, it all feels like lies. She doesn't know that she can't find it all inside her wandering soul, wandering soul. Maybe it's time to stand still, maybe it'll come to you. Maybe it's out there somewhere, searching for you too. Wandering soul, wandering soul, she can't find her home. Wandering soul, nowhere feels right, it all feels like lies. She doesn't know that she can't find it all inside her wandering soul, wandering soul.
Very nice.
Very
Thank
cool.
you.
So what was the process of writing this song? Are you a lyrics first person or a music first person or a title
You know
first?
what? It's funny because I actually don't play any instruments. I don't know chords. I don't know what an A is or a B is. I just I write up very backwards. So with this song, I wrote this by myself. Like I hear everything in my head and I have to figure out how to tell my producer what it's going to sound like. So usually when I'm writing, I'm singing it as I write it. It kind of comes hand in hand, goes hand in hand together. And then I send the full song to my producer, and we worked together now on a lot of songs. So he's very good at he's just brilliant, to be honest. He's just brilliant. And he's very good at picking up what I need and what I'm looking for. And he'll send me different examples or I'll like sing a riff into my phone and be like, I want it to sound like that or whatever. This one didn't really need that. It was pretty straightforward once I sang everything to him and how I wanted it to sound. But yeah, it's a very weird process. I think from what I hear from other songwriters, because they usually have their guitar, they have their instrument, where mine is just in my head.
So are you keeping track of this? Are you putting it on a phone? Or
Yeah.
How are you writing this? How do you write it? Capture it, I guess.
Well, see, I grew up in very secluded reservations. Like I moved about 15 times by the time I was in grade 9. And a lot of those places, they were all reservations. And so I didn't have a guitar. I didn't have access to these things. So this is, I guess, how I just learned and taught myself how to write songs. Like I spent a lot of time alone, being the new kid. So for me, music was my outlet, and I would literally go sit in a bush and just sing songs, and that's just normal for me. And I thought everybody was like that when they wrote songs, but it turns out that I was wrong. And I kind of, I literally, I sing it as I go. I could hear it in my head, and I don't know how else to explain it. But like when I do go into the studio, or when I send my voice note to Murray Palmer's his name, or Stephen Arundel. Those are my two producers on this last my next album that's coming out. If I have any ideas with them, I'll send them. Sometimes I'll even have to find other songs that have something similar and be like, kind of like this, but then try to explain it in a way that makes sense to all of us. Because like I said, I don't know what an A is. I don't know what, apparently I sing in B minor. I don't know what that means. I just sing.
this song ain't in B minor. But anyway, no, I find that really interesting, actually, as a process. I wouldn't necessarily call it backwards. Maybe it is a little bit unusual compared to most people, but that doesn't make it wrong by any stretch. Like I've worked with other artists that do kind of that. Like as a producer, I've worked with other artists who just sang into their phone. But the one fellow I'm thinking of, he wrote sort of a synth pop type music, right? And he would sing into his phone, but he learned after some time of kind of working with other producers, or even with me, where it didn't quite vibe with what he was thinking. So then when he started to do was like download or find beats on YouTube, just to keep him in time and keep some kind of a rhythm to sing his lyrics to. Same thing. He doesn't play guitar, doesn't play piano, just writes lyrics and sings them, right? And then leaves it to someone like me to build the music base. So I'm just wondering, is there something beyond just singing a cappella that you employ to sort of because the I want to say the danger, but the danger with doing it that way, unless of course it sounds like you've got like a really amazing producer, right? Is that things like melodies by themselves kind of float into the ether, like the guitar or piano sort of grounds everything and gives it a meter and gives it structure, right?
Yeah. So like when I'm working with Murray, if it doesn't feel right, I'll tell him, and we like I said, we just figure out a way to work it out of how I want it to sound. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes I'm going or whatever, like I'm singing out the parts that I want, which is really funny. But like I've done that, like I said, my whole life. I'm a good air guitar player. I can't play, but I could like sing it out or figure it out. But we've been working together now since like 2014, right? So it's been a while. We built that relationship to the point where we just get each other. And I don't know if I'll ever find that with anybody else. But like I also like I do write songs with people, do co-writes and stuff like that. And even during those sessions, I'll be like, well, maybe I want it to sound a little bit more swampy. I use that word quite a bit, or a little bit more, I try to figure out some words. And is that the cat? I can hear the cat. Yeah. And I just try to figure it out. If it doesn't feel right, we usually don't work on it very long. That's kind of one of the other rules that I have with myself is if it's not clicking, then it's not the right time for it. I have a really strong belief in that faith of like, if it's willing to come, it's going to come. But if it's not, then it's not. Like the universe works that way. And that's just how I feel about it. But yeah, that's kind of, it's like I said, it's very strange process, and I understand that.
But you're working to your strengths, and that's your strength is as a vocalist. So lean into that, and make it work for you. Collaborate with somebody who has who can fill those gaps.
Yeah, for sure.
Make a complete song, and you're sorted, right?
Most songwriters are working on numerous, sometimes 20 or 30 songs at once in various points of completion, are you keeping all those in your head, or are you writing down the titles, or
Oh,
do you have any kind
I
of?
have a lot of notes in my phone.
Okay.
I seem to write when I'm working a lot, which is really funny, but I have to be busy to be writing. I don't know why. Or like I said, in a songwriting session where I'm actually thinking about it, but I do keep track of like I go on my phone quite a bit. I also carry a book at home because I'm old school and I like to write some things, right? And then try and figure out the structures and how I want it to look or sound or whatever. But a lot of it is voice notes. I sing a lot of things into my voice notes. The song that I wrote for Sirius XM Top of the Country, which is called That Wind. I was by myself for that one as well. And I was in Churchill, and that song came to me when I was dog sledding. So I don't know why it came to me when I was dog sledding, but that's where I got it from. And it was, I had to put it into my phone right away. Otherwise I would have forgotten what I wanted the melody to sound like. And then I changed the tempo as I went to make it more upbeat.
Right.
So
yeah, because those are sorts of things that are going to morph as you shape it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You give it some form. Yeah, really interesting. So when you're writing these, when you write these sketches to send to your producer, is the lyric pretty intact by the time you?
Yeah, I usually.
And the melodies are in place, and you know what's the verse and what's the chorus and what's
pretty much. Yeah, there's been a few instances where he's like, maybe we should add a bridge, and then he'll like figure out a little space for me on guitar, and then I'll just try and figure out what the bridge is going to sound like from there. But normally it's usually pretty done by the time I send it. And if I'm writing by myself, if I'm writing with other people, then obviously we collaborate on everything together at the same time. But most of the time I'm not working on a whole bunch of songs at once because I have to finish this song. Like I said, if it doesn't get finished, it's not meant to be in my head. So then I'm like, okay, well, this is not easy. So it's not doesn't want to be here then.
Is it then rejected outright, or is it saved?
Usually I'll save it. And sometimes I'll come back. But most of the time, even when I go back, I still, if I can't figure it out, I can't figure it out. And then it's just not meant to be in that instance. I feel like for me, it's a more of I have a lot of faith in the universe and the spiritual realm. So for me, it's like a spiritual experience to write a song. It's like you're getting a gift from the other side to, let out to this side. What story are you going to tell in that moment or whatever, right? Because I don't know, maybe that just kind of helps me also like take it away from myself and being like, oh, I can do this. But rather it's like, they gave me this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, there certainly is a kind of a magical element to it sometimes, right? Where you just feel it and then it happens, right? It's lovely that way. But does it take you very long to write a song then?
Not really. No. We wrote, this song specifically, Wandering Soul, like I probably wrote that in an hour or so on my couch. Like usually I'm in that moment so much. I have ADHD as well. So I think I really hyper focus and I got to get it done like then. The longest I spent on the song was a couple hours. And that's probably it. Usually I just try to get it out as fast as I can and figure out. It's like a puzzle for me and it has to get done. Like it just has to get done. Otherwise. Do
you go back and edit afterwards, like days afterwards or even the next day?
Sometimes I will. Sometimes when I'm writing it, sometimes I'll just like do filler lyrics and then I'll be like, I'll come back to that and I'll figure out what other lyric will come and sound better and like not sound so cheesy, I guess too. But like sometimes I just don't like lyrics and I'm like, no, I'll come back to that. It fits right now, but it's not going to fit later. And then I'll figure it out. Most of the time it like the structure and everything won't change, but like the lyrics sometimes will. So.
When you're writing, are you, like, how do you work with narrative? Because do you do you sort of come up with a character and then write a story around that, or you taking stuff from
Most
life,
of the stuff
or?
is personal. Yeah, most of the stuff is a personal experience. I've lived a really, really rough life, to be honest. There's been a lot of things that I've gone through throughout my life, and I try to write from a place of like authenticity where I can actually feel it. And if it's something else, like if I'm writing for somebody else, I have to try and figure out in my head when I felt that, so that I can try and pull from that, like try to pull from my own story. But
So
yeah,
Wandering Soul, this is in second person. This is a she. This is a she song.
this is a she song. However, I'm kind of writing about myself in past tense. I went through a really really bad postpartum depression, and then I went through a divorce. I'm still going through the divorce, but I'm separated now for about a couple years. And so I was writing in that sense of like who I was, and like not realizing in those moments, because I was severely depressed. Like I had to let my family know, like there's something going on, and it's actually, I'm thinking very dangerous things. That's how bad it was. And so I was like really, I felt really lost, and I felt like I was looking for myself and trying to figure out where that happy Jade used to be. And I was having a very, very rough time, and I had to go to therapy again and stuff like that. So I just trying to figure out where I was again, and where is that happy Jade, and trying to figure out that. So that's kind of where that song came from. So it's about myself, but in a past tense kind of way. Like I was thinking, she was, or me, I was in a really rough place, but had to figure out through therapy and through everything else that how to be that happy girl again and be that good mom that I know I could have been. But at that time, I was just so like I was in such a bad depressive episode from being postpartum, right? So, and it's really scary to think about it now, because I had really, really bad thoughts when I was postpartum. So
yeah, and to go through all that and to put it into a song, I mean, for one thing, is probably felt very therapeutic. But there's a nice aspect to this song in that it's fairly it's fairly open, and I'm gonna say it doesn't necessarily sound happy. It does have a bit of a melancholy feeling to it, despite what the words are saying. How does the song feel, right?
yeah,
and it's got those moments, like the middle of the chorus. Nowhere feels right. It all feels like lies. Like there's a really nice musical turn there where it goes into a minor chord, and it's a nice little twist that where the music is reflecting what the lyric is saying, right? And then it lifts back up, and it really lifts up really nicely in the bridge. And the bridge is much more optimistic, right? Like maybe it's time to stand still. Maybe it'll come to you. Maybe it's out there searching for you too. Like it's a little more optimistic than the comparably, despair-ridden verses.
I really wanted this song. I wanted this song to reach the women that are going through this, right? And I want them to know that it's going to be okay, and that there is another side. So that's kind of where, like, it is a very sad. You are in a very sad place, or like whoever it is that I'm singing to is in a very sad place, but just knowing that there's a light at the end, and trying to figure out where that is. And usually it's inside yourself, and you have to learn to sit with it and learn to find that again. And there's always a light though.
Is that something you're thinking about? I know you've mentioned this before, Phil, where you get a little irked at lyrics that are self-indulgent. Now, this is not self-indulgent. It's very open to other people's experiences. Is that something you're thinking about explicitly when you're writing?
I find that I write like I didn't realize that I wrote that way, but I do write a lot of songs that I in the end up being like for somebody else or trying to help people. Maybe that's just my purpose. I don't know. But like, I a lot of times when I write songs that are just for fun, or like the radio country songs, I don't really like singing them. So then I end up not singing them on stages, and then I end up singing the songs that I want to help somebody. I want to, like, that's what I mean when I think about, like, I think of this as a gift, and I don't think of it as myself writing. I think of it as a gift, like the ancestors are trying to help me to help people out, somebody else in similar situations. And I think that that came from, like I said, like a lot of traumas and a lot of really hard life experiences where what did I need to hear in those moments, and I want people to have that and find that in my songs, I think. And I don't realize that when I'm actually writing, that's not like the end goal, but then it always ends up happening that way. So yeah.
Are you getting pressure to write sort of more traditional country pop material, if only because there is a certain amount of money that sits behind that?
Well, I mean, I've been self-managed, so I've been very okay with what I do. I just want to be happy, and I just want to do stuff that's going to make me feel good at this point. I'm sure if I was with a label, they would not agree. but I think that's the nice part of it is, like, I'm okay. I'm free to do whatever I want to do. It's my money that's going to be backing this. And so far it's worked out great for me. Like, I have put out songs, and I was like, really working hard at trying to, like, crack the radio and crack whatever. But at the end of the day, that doesn't fulfill me. And no matter what, number I am on the charts, it still doesn't feel like it does when I see a mom cry when they hear my song "Stay Wild Child," and it's just like she gets it, and making those connections. That's what fuels me, and that's what makes me feel good.
Yeah, because I mean, we read your bio off the top, and you've won awards and all that sort of stuff. But like you say, it's the personal connection with your fans that.
Yeah, and I think that's more important than chasing radio at this point. And and to be honest, like, I should probably post more on TikTok so I can get more of it. But at the same time, I'm busy.
You're a mom. You got stuff to do.
Yeah.
And but you're seeing that shift though through those, and they want to hear the real stories, right? And like, I feel like that shift is coming with, like, what you're hearing nowadays. It's not so produced anymore, and it's not so like, people want to feel connected.
Yeah, because there is. I mean, if nothing else, this song is kind of raw and vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's really putting yourself out there, and I think that's going to reach people, right?
I hope so. Yeah. Yeah, it's always a question. I always wondered also if there's a certain quality, because I know First Nations are, storytelling is, that's how they did their history, really. If the structure of First Nations storytelling is kind of fundamentally different from, a standard Western form of narrative. Because I have read some, First Nations stuff, and there is certain kind of magic to it, and there's definitely some kind of magical kind of metaphors and feeling through this. And maybe it's just being, close to nature and the, the metaphors with nature and so on. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, well, for, like, our stories were told in songs, right? We always wrote songs to tell the stories, and that's part of, the ceremony. There's parts of this song, like "She Cries Under the Moon," that's actually referring to a full moon ceremony that we have. And every full moon, obviously I don't do it every single time, but there's ceremonies that you do a letting go ceremony of, like, what happened in this last moon cycle to bring in what's coming next. And so that talks about that. It's kind of like it's a letting go of, the past and figuring out what's going on in the future. So all my stuff, like, seems it will relate to nature and the ceremonies, because I do go to, like, I live that life, right? So but also, like, I feel like a lot of us are craving those nature moments. we don't necessarily get to have.
Yeah. Those of us who live in the urban concrete jungles.
Yeah.
But, no. I mean, they're really wonderful images. Like she just realized she was living with a ghost. She smells like sage and cedar. Cries under the moon. Like there's some really, really nice images, and it's clear. Like you're speaking from a place of intersectionality, right? You're a country artist, but you're an Indigenous artist.
Yes.
Right. And this clearly is a song. This is a country song written by an Indigenous artist. It's clear.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you're not fully. And like you say, if you're going against the grain of the traditional country or the radio hit kind of thing, I mean, one could argue that that's country pop. The real country is wrenched in despair as much as anything else, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, just don't start thinking about your truck. Then you're.
Yeah, I don't got a truck, so I'm not going to sing about that.
My Uber.
A dog sled? That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, you said you had a song
I wrote a song called That Wind, and I was like, I wonder how it would be like the moment of like dog sled racing and like what that looks like. So yeah, that's where That Wind came from. It's so funny. I'm such a
But sometimes songs come from the funniest places, right? And you kind of take the edge off, and like you say, like you make it, you spin it so that you're reaching out to other people and you're helping other people, and you're sort of you detach yourself from the personal experience just a little bit.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it becomes not so funny anymore, but it's nice.
That's funny.
Right.
What a neat song.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, I'm here in the band. I think that is about all the time we have on Song Talk Radio. Special thanks to Jade Turner. Wonderful to have you on the show. Where can our listeners find out more about you and hear some more songs?
Yeah, I'm mostly on Instagram, jade.turner.music. And then you can find me on TikTok at It's Jade's TikTok.
TikTok. All right. And we'll link to that from the show post for this episode from songtalk.ca. And we want to hear from you too, so please send your comments on Facebook or Instagram to @SongTalkRadio, or send us an email at feedback@songtalk.ca. Also, be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performance videos and full episodes, and subscribe today to the Song Talk Radio podcast on your favorite podcast provider. You can find links to all the products, books, and web services we mentioned on the show on our resources page on the website. And please join us at our next monthly Song Talk meetup. Whether you're in Toronto for our in-person meetups or anywhere in the world for our online meetups, it's free to join on meetup.com and free to attend. Bring a song and a lyric sheet and get constructive feedback from other songwriters. Stop by songtalk.ca for the link. You can follow me at neilmodi.com. You can follow Phil.
philemery.ca.
And Jade, I guess you already said your Instagram is your favorite.
Yeah, but I do have jadeturnermusic.com.
As a website? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we'll be sure to send our listeners there. Okay, be sure to stop by the website, songtalk.ca, to browse past shows and find out how you can be a guest. Thanks for tuning in, and keep on writing.
Good night.
So long.